All right, let's work through chapter 13, which is called Creating Artwork for a T-shirt. Really what it should be called is using symbols in libraries, because that's the stuff we're learning. Creating artwork, we're not doing that. We're not drawing all this stuff out. So in lesson 13, I would like you to open the start file. Start 1. And we should see 2 artboards. And we can close this appearance floating panel if you still have that from before. We have 2 artboards. We're going to do a file save as, and we're going to save this as your name and then t-shirt. All right. Let's work on artboard 1. So choose artboard 1 to bring it into the full view in our window. And we're going to also go to window, and we're going to turn on the check mark next to symbols so that we have our floating panel of symbols. Again, these are the default ones that come with every document. We have a rectangle, a splatter of grime, a button, some trim marks, ribbon, Gerber daisy, and a logo. So these are the standard symbols that will come up. Notice that we also have a library down at the bottom, and then right now they're not activated, but you can see that we have some other options like making new ones and deleting them and everything else. Okay, before we move on, let's turn off our smart guides if they're already on. So under view, make sure there's no check mark next to smart guides for now. And then in our layers panel, we want to make sure that the content layer is the one that we're highlighting and that we're working on. You can go back to the properties tab after that. We're going to use symbols, and when we place them, they're going to land on whatever layer is active. So you should always check your layers panel to see which layer you're actively working on. In our symbols panel, we're going to go down to the bottom left and click on the library and look at all the different symbols we have. Really cool stuff, and of course we're going to go to the strangest one. We're going to go down to Tiki and select the Tiki options and make that bigger so you can see all the cool little Illustrator artwork that they've already done for you. From the Tiki options, we're going to click on the one that's the guitar, and that's going to add it to our symbols that are available to this document. We're not going to load all of them, we're just going to load that one. And we're going to close out the floating Tiki library panel. Again, anything you add to the symbols are saved with this active document only. They're not site-wide in Illustrator. All right, with our selection tool, we're going to take this instance of this symbol and we're going to drag it out onto our shirt. Then we're going to go and do it a second time. We're going to go back and we're going to drag it out onto the shirt. Any guess why we like symbols? If you had to take a stab in the dark without reading in the book, what would make symbols good?
Are they royalty free?
Yeah, I mean, anything in here, yes. Yep, they're provided so you can use them. What about for your workflow? What makes symbols good, do you think? Yeah, for right now they're kind of treated as a thing, and you can drag it on there. We can drill down to it and get it to be an editable shape like we drew it originally. We can get to that, but for right now, it's an easy way of bringing things on. So if you do, I don't know, a lot of clouds and trees, if you have a bunch of those loaded into your symbols, you'll be able to drag them out and reuse them. The other thing is that they're kind of like global colors. If we go in and edit that symbol anywhere that we've used it, it's going to get updated in our document. Also, really big thing is that these are just instances of this symbol. So whatever weight this has for storage, we're only doing once. We could have 7,000 of these on here, and it's only the weight, file size weight of one symbol, because these are all instances of it. So it makes your files a lot smaller. So anything you're going to use over and over and over again, this is a perk of using symbols. All right, so we have this lovely guitar. All right, the one that we have selected that we brought in last, the one on the right, let's just go over to the bounding box and we're going to proportionately drag it to make it, whoops, a bit smaller. So hold shift, make it a little bit smaller, and you can move these around. So it's the same instance, but because we were able to transform it, they look a little bit different. And then the other thing that we're going to do to make it look a little different is in our properties panel over here. In the transform section up at the top, after all the numbers, we have some little icons, flip horizontally, flip vertically. We're going to click on the flip on the horizontal axis, and that's going to make it lean the opposite direction, so it really doesn't look like a second version of it. It gives it a little variety. So we just flipped it using that. We're going to edit the original guitar symbol, and all instances of it on our artboard, which is only 2, are going to be updated. So with our selection tool, we're going to double click the selected guitar instance on our artboard. So double click on this, and it says you are about to edit the symbol. Any edits will be applied to all. In other words, hey, stupid, this is not normal art, this is a symbol, do you know what you're doing? Kind of those nice warnings. Once you're good at this and you don't want that always popping up, you can turn it off, but I kind of like these little warnings just in case you weren't intending to do what you are. We are, so we're going to say okay. And you can tell it's like we're in isolation mode again. It grayed everything out and we're focusing on just this one instance. All right, let's zoom in with our zoom tool so we can see this guitar a little bit better. And then we're going to take our direct selection tool and we're going to just select the blue body of the guitar. So with the direct selection tool, we're going to click on that. Then we're going to go to our appearance panel, click on the fill, and we're going to change it to a brown swatch. So of all these browns over here, hover over them. The one that we want has a cyan of 25. So it's going to be that first one, 25, 40, 65, 0. Click on that, and then double click away from the symbol, and we've edited the symbol. Both of them changed, and it changed in our symbol panel. So global edits again, way of saving time. Fit your artboard in the window and you can see both of the guitars have changed. So that was editing the symbol itself. Symbols can also be dynamic, which means when we're doing this that we can change certain appearances of the properties using the direct selection tool alone without editing the actual symbol. So if they're dynamic, we can pick and choose parts of it just on the one we're targeting, and it's not going to affect our symbol. Go back to your symbols panel, and we're going to double click on the guitar symbol, and that's going to allow us to edit that. And whoops, I didn't mean to double click it. We don't want to do this. Back out of that, just single click to select it. You should have that little line around it in your symbols panel. And when you do that, one of the options that lights up down here kind of looks like a checklist. And when you hover over it, it says symbol options. This is what you want to check. And here's where it can be named. The export type, I just want to point this out to you, movie, clip, and graphic. It doesn't matter what it is. When we work in Illustrator, they behave the same way. But if you ever want to use these graphics in like Adobe Flash to make animations like for games or maybe screens on LCD screens like a show that's going by, you would want to export it as a movie type so that you can animate it. But if it's just an Illustrator, it can be a movie clip or a graphic, does not matter. So this is the default and it just stays there. What we want to do here is make sure that it's a dynamic symbol, not a static. So choose the dynamic option up there and then say OK. And notice in your symbols panel, you have a slight change. There's a little plus sign at the bottom right. That means it's a dynamic symbol. meaning you can change bits or pieces of it on your artboard without changing the symbol itself. So the one that they gave us with this called logo, that's a dynamic symbol too. You can tell from that plus sign right there. Zoom in on your guitars on your artboard so that we can see them a little bit better. And let's take our direct selection tool. And on this smaller guitar on the right, we're going to click on this blue curved area on the left side of the guitar. And notice how we get a dark blue outline around that. In the Properties panel, with that selected, we see that we have a symbol selected and it is dynamic. We're going to change the fill color. Click on the fill and we're going to go with a darker brown. Come on. Why did you not change? Pardon?
Mine didn't do it first either. I had to go.
You had to do it, oh yeah, second time. That's weird. Okay, well I did it a second time and now it is the color that we want it to be. Click away. We can now see that that one version we were able to edit it because it's dynamic. The actual symbol itself hasn't changed, nor did the other guitar. So that's what we were going for in that case. All right. Creating a symbol. So we went and got some from the library. We got the guitar that way, but Illustrator also lets us save and create and save our own symbols. They can be objects, paths, compound paths, text, even embedded raster images or groups. So there's lots of stuff that we can save as a symbol. Let's go to Artboard 2. And we're going to, with our regular selection tool, we're going to click on that top musical note. And then in our symbols panel, there is the new icon down here at the bottom. With that selected on the artboard, you can click on the new symbol. And it says, what do you want to name it? We're going to call it Note 1. Again, it can stay movie type. And we're going to keep it dynamic so that we can tweak it individually and say, okay. So we now have added that to our symbols. Go back to artboard number 1 and we're going to drag note 1 from our symbol onto our artboard, and we're going to do it several times. So drag out 3 or 4 notes, and then to make them a little different, scale some of them, make some of them bigger, or maybe even twist them a little bit. Remember, if you hold shift, you're going to get a proportionate scale. If you don't, you're not. So you can rotate them, do whatever to make them all seem a little bit different. So this helps with the not making it look so repetitive. When you're done, deselect and save your shirt at this point. Okay. Oftentimes you're going to want to add a series of symbol instances to your artwork, and that's why we have symbols, because of the ease of using them, ease of updating, and the fact that they help with file size. Let's go back to Artboard 2, and with our selection tool we're going to grab the note at the bottom. And instead of clicking on new symbol, another way of doing it is to drag it from the artboard into, come on, work with me here, into the symbols panel itself. And when you see that blue line, let go. It's going to give us a chance to name it. We're going to call this one Note 2. Make sure that it is dynamic and say OK. So you can either drag them into the symbols or click on the Add New Symbol if it's something in your existing art. Go back to the artboard 1 of the t-shirt, and we're going to just drag one instance of this onto our t-shirt. And instead of continuing to drag from our symbols, we can do what we're used to doing, which is where we hold Option and we drag, whoops. Ugh. Oh, for crying out loud, I'm undoing too many times. Redo, drag you out here, and then select it, hold down Option, and drag another copy. So drag a bunch of copies by option dragging, and then resize some of these. You want to keep them proportional, you have to hold Shift. If you don't, you don't. Twist them around a little, whatever. All right, deselect. The other thing that you can do is you can easily replace a symbol. So let's say that we had a symbol of a golden retriever dog face, and we used it 100 times, and then we had some corgis, and they said, yeah, it was supposed to be a black lab in corgis. You can replace all of your golden retriever symbols, instances, with another symbol, the lab, and they're going to populate for you. All right, with our selection tool, pick one of our Note 2 instances on the artboard. And then over in our properties panel, about 2/3 of the way down, we have replace symbol, and we see that it's the one we have chosen. And we could hold the down arrow and we can pick something new. So let's say we wanted to replace this one with the Gerba Daisy, or like I said, the black lab with the golden retriever, or whatever. Choose Note 1, so it replaces it with the other one. Then back in our symbols panel, we're going to come up here and we're going to double click on the Note 2. That's going to bring us into this kind of isolation mode editing option where we just see that symbol instance. The little plus that you see here, if you guys are wondering what that is, that's the center of the artwork, and for animation purposes, if you were telling it to move around, that would be the anchor point that it would hold, or if you were telling it where to position it. That's why that shows up, because we saved it as a movie clip. We're not going to use it, but it kind of explains what that little plus symbol is right there. All right, with our selection tool, we're going to click on the note shape in here and zoom in, so Command plus will bring you in. And we're going to change the color of this, so go to your fill, and instead of being this dark gray, we're going to go down to a version lighter. 30K is 30% black, so it's a lot lighter. And then double click away from the symbol to get out of that isolation mode. Fit your artboard in the window, and you should see that we edited all of those, and they're now a lighter gray. The one that we told to replace with something, we just selected that one and told it to replace once. If we wanted all of them to change, we would have picked this one and then said select all of the same symbols so that all 700 of them were identified, and then we would have swapped out with the black lab or whatever we wanted to change it to. All right. Let's do a save. Every now and then you want to break something's link to the symbol. You want to treat it like its own piece of art that you want to work with and not just a symbol. And you can do that by breaking the link. So with our selection tool, we're going to grab this guitar on the left, and we're going to zoom in so that we can see the guitar on the left. In our properties panel, way down at the bottom, we see that we can edit the symbol or break the link. So it's a word button. It's not this link up here in the transform. We're down at the bottom where it says break link. We're going to click on that. Now it's no longer a symbol. Now it's just a bunch of Illustrator artwork. It is also a group. We can see that up here, so we know that it's grouped artwork. Click away to deselect it, and then we're going to take our direct selection tool, and we're going to, there's two knobs off of the left or right hand side of the guitar. They're, I don't know my terminology, don't they like tighten strings or something for tuning? Tuners. Click on the top one. With your direct selection tool, you should be able to grab just that top one. And we're going to hold down Option, and we're going to drag up a third one. So on this guitar, there are 3 tuners because this is just plain old artwork. It's not a symbol anymore. Click away to deselect, and we're going to zoom out. And there we have it. So this guitar on the left is not a symbol, it's just a bunch of artwork that we've tweaked. So anything we would change in our symbols panel is not going to affect this one. It's not linked anymore. Let's save that. And in the meantime, I want to show you something that they don't talk about in the book, but that I found to be extremely fun. Let's just do a file new. Create a new document and just go with this default size that pops up. And we have to go over to our toolbar on the left and go down to the 3 dots at the bottom because the tool that I want to show you it's not loaded up in here. So go down to those 3 bars and I need to find it. Okay, so down here, it's called the symbol sprayer, the symbol shifter, the symbol scruncher, all of these tools. Let's see if we can do this all at once. Yep, if you select all of these different things and then drag them into your toolbar somewhere and then escape out of that. So the first one is the symbol sprayer. That's that top tool. I want you to bring your cursor over here. Let's pick a symbol in our symbols pattern panel and start spraying around like this is a spray can. Click and hold and move around. That's how we spray out symbols. Which is pretty cool, I think. Especially if it's like clouds or trees or something that you want to add to.
I had sprinkles in my cookies I could use. Painted more on it.
Yeah, all sorts of cool stuff, right? So that's the sprayer. Now let's try another one. We're just going to play with them because the symbol shifter, when you pick that one and you hover, whoops, let's see if I remember how to use this one. Symbol shifter. When you hover over some symbols, you get the little shifter, and in my case, it says it's going to the left. So see how I'm kind of moving this one? The size of your brush is also going to affect how many pieces get selected inside of it. So that's the shifter. These are all kind of trial and error. Come on, whoa. The scruncher, I have a really big brush size, and when I click and hold, everything inside that circle is going to be scrunched together. It's going to kind of suck them in together. So scrunching them, scrunching. Then there is the sizer tool. Hover that over just one and it blows up just the one. Or if you happen to have a really big selection like I do, it's taking more than one, but it's making them bigger. The spinner tool, you can imagine what that's going to do. It's going to spin it. This flower is kind of hard to tell what's going on, but if you had the guitar, you would see it spinning around on its axis, basically. The stainer, how does this one work again? Does this suck out color or something? Oh yeah, look at that. Haven't used these in a while, and actually I think some of them are different. Oh, that's kind of cool. The screener tool kind of screens them out a little bit lighter each time. 1 click, 2 click, whatever. They get lighter and lighter, fades some of them out. And the styler, what does this bad boy do? Oh, select a style from the graphic styles panel. So if we do a graphic styles, and I pick the Monster, one of these horrible things, there, I applied it to my poor flowers. So this tool that's kind of mentioned just in a tan box up at the top, in the past has been something that we've used a lot. I just wanted to show it to you because it can be really helpful with some of your designs. If you want to spray a whole bunch of somethings in the background, this is a great way to spray a whole lot of somethings. Okay, you can close that file. That was just for practice. And go back to our t-shirt. And we're going to look at our Creative Cloud libraries. And since you all are logged in under your own account, this is kind of cool because you can see how this works. This connects to your login and your files. And we can add assets to these libraries, and therefore they're available to us whenever and wherever we work. And then also we can share these, which you guys have already done. I don't know if it was in this one or in Photoshop, but I asked you to share something with me and you sent me shares. So if you're working with a team and you have the logo and all these different assets and how you're going to stylize your type as a graphic style, you can save all these things in the cloud in the library and then share them. Let's do a file open and grab the other start file in lesson 13. So start 2. That's not start 2. We're supposed to open sample. We'll get to this one. You can leave it open. Open the file called sample. My bad. All right, so this is two artboards with some more graphics. Another guitar, a pick, some text, and an amp. We're going to take these from a file and save them in our library so we can access them elsewhere. We're going to capture some of the text, some of the colors, and formatting in here. Let's open up your libraries. So choose Window and then Libraries to get that to open up. Might have been a tab over here already available. And give it a second to kind of wake up. Stock templates is the first thing that shows up. But go to, here's all the Kahlua coffee that you guys shared with me in the past. Go to My Library, and yours should be empty. Mine already has stuff in it because I went through this to make sure the 2020 version worked the same as I was used to. So your library should be empty. Or have stuff that you've already put in it. Yeah, not that it's empty, but it shouldn't have these things. So the My Library is the generic one that you get. You can add to this, or you can add more subfolders, which is helpful. Your library could get out of control. Make sure that, first of all, nothing is selected, and then with your selection tool, click on Rock On. And because we use the selection tool, not the text tool, that's treating it as a thing, and it's remembering its font, its size, any special effects that are applied, anything like that. And we're going to drag this into our libraries panel, and when you get a plus sign that says text 1, you let go. I'm not going to do it because mine's already there. Okay? To change the name, if you see at the bottom, it gave it a name. We can double click on that, and we can, instead of calling it text 1, we can call it heading. So we know that that's the formatting that we like. We like the font, the color, the size, and the effects for a heading, and then just click away from it. With the selection tool, drag across the artwork of the guitar pick to select all elements of that as one solid thing, and click and drag that into your library and let go. And then do the same with the amp. Select the entire amp so that you get all the pieces of that. Just make sure you don't get the words Rock On because you already got that. And then drag that into your artboard, or I'm sorry, into your library in the cloud. Again, it says Artwork 1 and Artwork 2. You can rename those as you wish. And we're done with this file. We just opened it so that we could put some assets in the cloud. Therefore, they're going to be available to us across everything we do. So we can close down this sample page. And we don't need to save it. All right, go back to your t-shirt artwork. And we can now use assets from our library, just like we use them from the symbol panel. We're going to drag this heading text from our library onto our artboard. Drag it down here. And if it takes a little while for this to sync, just be patient. Also notice when I did this, it doesn't show up yet, but I have a loaded cursor. It says 1 of 1. When I click, it will place it for me. So here's the Rock On. And again, it's in black type on a black t-shirt, so we can't really see it. hit the escape tool, and that's going to switch you to the oh, sorry, the selection tool, and it selected this whole object. In our properties panel, we want to change the fill from being black to white so we can actually read the words. So it's selected, we changed it to white. Now we actually want to double click on the words rock on. And that's going to switch us to the type tool. So we see our flashing cursor. And we're actually going to type this in all caps with an exclamation point at the end. So you could have either retyped it in or you could have changed the case, whatever you want to do. Go back to your selection tool and select away from that. Go back to your libraries panel. We're going to drag the pick and the amp. Oh, I should have, my pick is already recolored, that's why mine is gray. So yours is black. Drag your pick onto here. Again, it's ready to go once you click with your cursor. And you can resize it right away. Maybe it's a little too big. Then go grab the amp and bring that on and click to place it at its full size. And let go. So right now their stacking order is goofy. We have the amp on top of everything, but we've brought them from our cloud into this actual document. With your selection tool, select the pick on the artboard itself, and we're going to drill down into isolation mode. Again, yours should be black. Mine has already been changed. Go back to your Properties tab. And we see at the top that it says linked file, and that is underlined, so that means that we can click on it and see what it is. When we expand those words linked file, we see all the different artwork that's linked, and we see a little cloud to the right of it. And that's kind of warning us that this is linking to my Creative Cloud. So if I were to send this to somebody else and not share it with them, they can't see it. This is going to be a nothing, just like if it were linked to your home computer. All right. Back in the libraries panel, pop back to that. Double click on the guitar pick itself, the asset, and it appears in a new temporary document. We see artwork 1 and then a whole bunch of numbers. We're going to take our direct selection tool and we're going to click on this black shape in your case, and we're going to go to the fill of this, and we're going to change it to a light gray. So it is black. You guys are going to change it to a light gray. I'll change it to pink just to show you how it changes. We need to save this file, this temporary artwork one, so we can click away to deselect, and then we can do a file save, and then close this temporary pop-up window. And that saved it, updated it in our library to now be whatever color. You guys did gray, I did pink just to show it. The thumbnail updated and the artboard should update as well. Another thing that we can do in our properties panel, right now the pick is a linked graphic linked to our cloud. We don't want to do that. We want to embed it in here so it stays with the file and we can give this to another person and they'll actually have it. So in the quick actions down here, we're going to click on embed. Now notice it no longer says up here linked file. It just says that this is a group and it's embedded in here. All right, double click away to get out of this view. And then the amp, if you want to select that, we obviously need to rearrange that. So in the Properties panel, we can go to the Arrange tab and we can do Send to the Back. And then if you wanted to rearrange and resize all the graphics to make a cool t-shirt, you can go ahead and do that. But the gist of the lesson is done. You learned how to bring them in from the cloud and embed them in the file rather than have them staying linked to your cloud, which is pretty important. Okay, any questions on that? All right, you can save the file and close it. and then we're going to jump back to that other file that I accidentally opened. Also, if you get something saying, hey, I'm trying to save it, just settle down and say okay, and it will go away when it's done. All right, so here is, if you need to open it, it's Start 2, the second document in here that we're going to work on now. And we're going to look at global edits. So there's times when you might want to create multiple copies of artwork and use it across multiple artboards, so not just the one artboard. If we need to make a change, everywhere it's used, it will be updated if we use that global editing option, just like we've used with global colors, or kind of how the symbols work. Let's do a file save as of this and call it Your Name Icons. Fit all in the window. You should be able to see both artboards. And then take your selection tool and click to select the circle behind this larger microphone on the left-hand artboard. So now if your goal here is to edit all of the circles found behind each of these icons, we could do that by shift clicking, or we could use select, same, and then apply something like the same stroke or the same width or the same color. Different ways. First thing we're going to do is go over to our properties panel, and at the very bottom it says start a global edit. We're going to click on that. Okay, oh, there we go. Finally it worked. Because we said picked that first outer ring and we did a global edit, it's thinking everything on the artboard should be selected. So it did that for us. All the ellipses or circles are selected and they have a blue highlight around them. Now, to the right of the global edit, we have a drop-down box. And when we click on that, we can whittle it down by a little bit more detail. So right now the results show that 7 items are highlighted, but what if we want to just match the appearance? If we click on that, it takes away a couple of them. They don't have the same appearance as the one that we selected for whatever reason. Appearance attributes that were applied are now selected. I'll just pop over to this one. This is the appearance attribute that it liked. If we want to narrow it down even more, whoops, I went away from that when I hit that thing, darn it. Start global edit, and then just by appearance, we can then choose size, and it's going to say, okay, which are the 2 buttons that have the same appearance attributes and the same size, and it says, okay, just these 2. And then we can go and change something universally or globally. We can go to the stroke option, and we can click on the color of that, and we can change it to a different color. And then click away from the panel, and darn it, why did that one not stay lit up? That one should have changed too. I must not have had it staying on. Ugh. Did yours work? It's always worked for me when I've done that. The second one should have turned red too. All right, hold on. I need to switch that back. Undo. Undo. This one, start global edit. Appearance and size, yes. Stroke.
You have to click away and then it will add it.
There we go. Click away and then it will add it. So if you had a bunch of things and you wanted to do a site-wide edit over mini artboards, this might be a tool you would use, this global editing. All right. That is the end of the chapter.